Oh, fortunate are you who still have your DVD and VHS tapes of professional wrestling, because that history cannot be erased by the WWE and Peacock. Peacock? For the rest of us who foolishly sold our DVDs in a garage sale shortly after the launch of the WWE Network, we just have blurry YouTube clips to remind us of how some of those moments actually happen in real time. But that's why we're here, to do our best to fight against the itchy delete finger that keeps editing these events for one reason or another. I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling, and let's take a look at 7 more moments banned from the WWE Network. Now, before we get into this, we appreciate your support, so if you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and Kona Crush that notification bell. Number 1. It's still real to me. The 2015 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony was definitely one to remember. It started with Rikishi being inducted and then dancing with his twin sons, Jimmy and Jey Uso. Bruno Sammartino would make a return appearance to induct Larry Zbyszko, who was wearing a pretty swanky white tuxedo, and maybe it's the wrestling fan in me, but whenever somebody wears that much white, I assume they're going to get busted open. Fortunately, that wasn't the case here. Alundra Blaze got some quality digs in, ridiculing bra and panties matches, and Vince Russo's angle where she was doused in barbecue sauce. All of that before she reversed course on her most infamous moment by retrieving the WWE Women's title from a garbage can. It featured the long overdue posthumous induction of the Macho Man Randy Savage, brother, and it featured the first time they would present the Warrior Award. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how this honor got its start, during the Ultimate Warrior's induction the prior year, Warrior pitched the idea of an award that would be presented to members of the WWE behind-the-scenes staff who deserved recognition. Instead, the Warrior Award would go to those that exhibited unwavering strength and perseverance and who live life with the courage and compassion that embodies the indomitable spirit of the Ultimate Warrior. Oh, so, not at all what he wanted. The first recipient of this new award would be Connor the Crusher Michalik, a little boy who had recently lost his battle with cancer, but who over the course of his all-too-short life had won the hearts of the WWE locker room and the WWE Universe. You might remember him for putting Daniel Bryan Danielson in the Yes Lock backstage, getting into a heated debate with Batista, and knocking out and pinning Triple H. See? And people say Hunter never put anyone over. Also, I always did love the way Connor had the wherewithal to hook his leg, just like a seasoned pro. Presenting the award would be Connor's favorite wrestler, Daniel Bryan. And before the leader of the Yes Movement could begin his speech, the audience would break into a loud Daniel Bryan chant. Daniel would smile, then say, "I sincerely and truly appreciate that, but everything I've done in front of all of you guys, it's fiction. It's not real. If I've inspired any of you, that's great, but when I talk about inspiration, I'm talking about something that's very real, and somebody who inspired me is Connor." It's pretty clear what Daniel was trying to say here. He's a world-class athlete, arguably the best wrestler of his generation, but the heroic things his character has done in the ring are all fictional. A creative staff produced them. The audience would quickly realize what Daniel was trying to express and would later begin chanting for Connor instead. It was a very nice moment. However, if you watch the 2015 Hall of Fame on the WWE Network today, that segment of Bryan's speech is now gone. The audience chants for Bryan, and it fades into him talking about Connor. Why was it removed? I can't imagine it's because Daniel Bryan is admitting that professional wrestling is predetermined. That cat has been out of the bag for quite some time now. I can only imagine it's because the WWE didn't like that Daniel Bryan was downplaying his accomplishments. Number 2. Rumble Reaction. When we think of Hulk Hogan in the 80s and early 90s, we tend to think of the real American hero fighting for the rights of every man. But the truth, Hulk Hogan was kind of dirty. Biting, back-raking, hitting women, these are all the tactics of a cowardly heel, not the biggest good guy in the company. And maybe it didn't matter. The fans loved them some yellow and red, even when he wore the world's dumbest helmet. They were feeling him. Until they weren't feeling him. The 1992 Royal Rumble was a huge deal. Up until that point, the 30-man over-the-top rope staggered entrance battle royal was just for bragging rights. It wasn't even for the main event slot at WrestleMania at that point. But 1992 was special because Hulk Hogan had been stripped of the WWE title because he had cracked open The Undertaker's urn and thrown a handful of ashes into his face to regain the belt. First of all, ew. I'm sure there are very specific laws about where you're allowed to spread ashes. And second, I just Googled Hulk Hogan stripped without thinking about it. That could have ended in disaster. The match would come down to Hulk Hogan, Sid Justice, Ric Flair, and Randy Savage. Flair would kind of assist Sid in eliminating Savage, then Sid would see Hogan trying to get rid of Flair. Sid would think about it for a second and then send Hogan tumbling over the top rope to the floor. Crowd was shocked. Hogan was incensed, and Sid was not apologetic. And nor should he be, as that's literally how battle royals work. Hogan would eventually grab Sid's hand and attempt to pull him over the top rope, which absolutely made him look like a sore loser. Flair would take advantage of this lapse in judgment, eliminate Sid, and claim the vacant WWE Championship, all with a tear in his eye. The capacity crowd was not happy with Hulk Hogan. Sid was a babyface at this time and was 100% in the right for eliminating anybody he wanted to. And Hogan was stomping around the ring in the aftermath like a petulant child when Sid would confront Hogan by pushing him in the back of the head, which is a baller move. It was clear that the audience was on his side. When Hogan did his trademark hand to the ear pose, he was met by thunderous boos. You can even see Sid referencing it here, putting his thumbs down. To counter that, they respond to Sid's pose with a very positive ovation. And these are not the reactions you'll see today on the WWE Network. To hear Sid tell the story, Hogan was furious when he arrived to the backstage area and screamed at Vince McMahon, saying that the booking intentionally made him look bad. And whether it was intentional or not, that's anybody's guess. But it certainly made Hogan look like a jerk. As a way to fix this disaster, the audio was altered and re-aired during WWE programming to make it look like the crowd had in fact cheered Hogan's tantrum. Also, commentary was added to make Sid look like a real backstabber. That commentary has been removed, but the altered crowd reaction is the version we see today on the WWE Network. Number 3. Main Event Sing-Along. If you've never been to a live broadcast of Monday Night Raw or whatever night it is now SmackDown, you are missing something special. Not the production part of it, that's kind of a start and stop mess that can really ruin the flow of a traditional wrestling event. What we're talking about is what happens after the live cameras stop rolling. There's an old pro wrestling adage that says you want to send the fans home happy. Happy fans are more likely to have good memories of the show and are more likely to come back. But being a weekly TV show, sometimes the bad guys have to win. So over the years, the talent have done a variety of bizarre things to give the paying crowd a little something extra and leave them with smiles on their faces. Sometimes it's something as simple as just an extra match where the good guy wins, but often it's a weird kind of improv comedy skit that can range from Steve Austin sharing a beer with Hulk Hogan, to Cody Rhodes giving a fan a piece of a broken table, to the entire roster trying to get The Undertaker to perform a spinneroonie. These moments are so weird and fun that the WWE actually released a DVD called The Best of Raw after the show that highlighted some of these weird interactions. And in the fall of 2001, apparently these after shows involved Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock having a sing-off. And that's odd enough on its own, but it's important to note that they were hated enemies at this time and the heads of the WCW and WWE factions respectively. You could just hear Jim Cornette somewhere seething over this. The decision was made to bring this to the televised show, and the results were amazing and bizarre and like the best, worst thing to ever happen. On the November 12th, 2001 episode of Monday Night Raw, the main event featured The Rock and Steve Austin having a promo battle in the center of the ring. And to put this into historical perspective, this was the last Raw before the Survivor Series 2001 pay-per-view, where either WWE or the WCW-ECW alliance were going to cease to exist forever. Well, almost forever. Eventually, the iconic wrestlers decided to ease the tension by singing to each other, as you do. And to help keep the beat, they had the sound of Vince McMahon Sr. rolling in his grave. First up was Steve Austin, who did a cover of Tanya Tucker's Delta Dawn. It was terrible, yet still wildly entertaining. Then, The Rock countered with a rendition of Kenny Rogers' The Gambler, and while he wasn't at his Maui best at this point, the audience still seemed to enjoy it. And for the grand finale, they busted out a duet of the Jimmy Buffett classic Margaritaville. When it was over, they laughed, shook hands, hugged, and then The Rock laid him out with the rock bottom. It is still wrestling after all. Paul Heyman put it best on commentary by simply saying, "This is surreal." And it was. It was surreal and stupid and crazy and about a half dozen other adjectives. Unfortunately, the whole song part is no longer available on the WWE Network. It goes right from them talking trash to each other to The Rock landing his finisher. Why? I'd imagine it has something to do with the rights for the songs. They can get very pricey, and we know that Vince isn't big on paying for outside music, and unfortunately, this wouldn't be the only time. Number 4. Bet Laid Plans. It's a shame that any of these edits are made. I'm one for keeping history the way it happened, even if it's offensive. And if you need to put up a card to explain the context, then at least we learn something from it. But this edit is the one that breaks my heart the most because I unapologetically love this segment. Hot off of getting his ass royally kicked by a superhuman Kurt Angle at SummerSlam 2001, the WCW-ECW Alliance was hoping to cheer up their captain by hosting a Steve Austin Appreciation Night. And it all took place on the August 20th, 2001 episode of Monday Night Raw. Started off with Hurricane Helms gifting Steve his Green Lantern shirt because Shane had a new hero, and that new hero was Stone Cold. Kanyon finally had an answer to who better than him, and that answer was, of course, you guessed it, Stone Cold. He gave him a shirt too. So many shirts. And then Austin's wife Deborah gave him a giant platter of her disgusting cookies. And I've got to be honest, everyone hating Deborah's cookies, but nobody having the guts to tell her, was easily one of the bright spots of the whole invasion angle. It always cracked me up. But the highlight of this segment, and there were many, was the Alliance coming together to sing a tribute to Stone Cold based on Bette Midler's Wind Beneath My Wings. I'm of course talking about Wind Beneath Our Ring. Stephanie would call professional singer Lillian Garcia into the ring to do the honors, but when Stephanie didn't feel like Lillian was giving it her all, she took on lead singing duties herself, and it is glorious. Stephanie is horrible in the best possible way. She has Chavo Guerrero, Terry Runnels, and Raven take solos. Oof. How much did classic ECW fans hate seeing the brooding Raven participating in this mess? There are lyrics up on the Titantron with a bouncing Steve Austin head, Austin singing, the Alliance swaying back and forth. It is all gold. And just to take a second, I'd hate for you to think I'm making fun of this segment, so to reiterate what I said earlier, I legitimately love it. Because some dumb things in wrestling are dumb, some dumb things are good, this dumb thing is great. To finish it off, Kurt Angle would then make his way to the ring in a milk truck and give us his take on Steve Austin's classic beer bath. Perfect, perfection, 5 stars, no notes. It's so good, they made a Milkamania series of action figures. The Stephanie even comes with a second head for after she's been sprayed with milk. But we're not allowed to have nice things, and Wind Beneath Our Ring has been edited out of the WWE's network version of this scene, which I would guess Raven's probably happy about. Number 5. Waiting for Rico. I can't imagine what it takes to put together one of these multi-person car crash kind of matches. A TLC bout where you've got 3 or 4 teams, a Money in the Bank ladder match, which has who knows how many people, all the props, what goes where, who needs to be in the right position. It all seems very overwhelming. I'd seriously need like a cheat sheet written on my wrist tape. And hey, sometimes mistakes happen, such as in the 6-man elimination tag team tables match between Jeff Hardy, Spike Dudley, and Bubba Ray Dudley against 3 Minute Warning and Rico that took place at the 2002 Survivor Series. Oh, and before we get too into this, what an underrated show. This match is good with a super hot finish with Devon Dudley ditching his Deacon character and returning to his Dudley roots. Trish Stratus and Victoria have a very solid hardcore match. The SmackDown 6 have their last hurrah in a three-way tag team title match. And of course, the first ever Elimination Chamber match. Good friggin' times. But back on topic, during the match, Rico would climb to the top rope to perform a moonsault onto Bubba Ray Dudley, who was lying on a table. The way it was supposed to go is Jeff Hardy would shake the top rope to get Rico to crotch himself on the turnbuckle, setting him up for a back suplex off of the top from Bubba. But Jeff had just hit his super impressive senton off of that one section of Madison Square Garden that he seems to like to jump off of, so Rico would wait, and wait, and wait. He couldn't do the move because that move would have eliminated Bubba from the match, and Bubba needed to be there in the end for the big reunion with Devon. He stood there for quite some time and looked very dumb, eventually screaming loud enough for everyone to hear, "Come on, Jeff! God damn it!" Finally, the charismatic Enigma would show up and shake the ropes so the match could continue, but this looked really bad. He was up there for like 15 seconds, and yeah, Jeff gets crapped on for occasionally having some bad judgment on pay-per-view, but in his defense, he had just done one of his mega swantons. Fortunately, the WWE would clean this up for them, so now it looks like this. Number 6, Booker's Botch. We love the five-time, etc. I'm not doing that whole thing. WCW World Champion Booker T. Back in the WCW NWO Revenge days, he was our go-to guy. We'd do the spin-a-rooney into that leg lariat. It was awesome. But Book occasionally has a bit of a problem when it comes to having a live microphone in his face. In an earlier video, we talked about his most famous mishap. We're, of course, talking about Spring Stampede 1997, where he gifted us with what might be the most famous pro wrestling blooper of all time when he said, "Hulk Hogan, we're coming for you, N-word without the hard R." So good. Look at his face. He knows he screwed up big time. He just said that to the biggest guy in the company. Sherry tried not to laugh. But I probably didn't need to tell you about that. Like I said, it's one of the most famous botches of all time. However, I did tell you in my last video that the WWE edited over what he said, and now it's Hulk Hogan, we're coming for you, sucker. Ugh, what a crime. Leave the memories alone. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be the only time Booker T would put his boot firmly into his mouth. On the April 27th, 2015 episode of Monday Night Raw, Neville would be squaring off against Luke Harper in a King of the Ring qualifying match. During the bout, Neville, who was known as the man gravity forgot, would hit a breathtaking top rope Asai moonsault to the outside. JBL would exclaim that Neville could be the WWE's first ever high-flying king, although when he did the math in his head, he remembered that Owen Hart was known for his aerial expertise as well. He'd amend his statement by saying, "I guess Owen was a high flyer as well, but not like this," to which Booker, playing off of Neville's Man Who Gravity Forgot nickname, would say, "He didn't defy gravity." Oh, yeah. Yikes. I probably don't need to spell this out to anyone watching this video, but Owen Hart tragically died at the Over the Edge pay-per-view in 1999 when he fell from the rafters while performing an entrance as the Blue Blazer. At any rate, I'm sure this was just a slip of the tongue from Booker, and he didn't mean it the way it could be misconstrued, but once again, this shirt makes an awful lot of sense. Oh, and speaking of that shirt, number 7, Supermarket Sweep. I don't think Stone Cold Steve Austin and Booker T ever had a match on pay-per-view, but it doesn't matter because on the December 13th, 2001 episode of SmackDown, they gave us the damnedest supermarket brawl that you are ever gonna see. It was so good. I'm shocked that they never ran it back with other guys. It all started when Austin was after Booker T for costing him the World Title Unification Tournament that was held at that year's Vengeance pay-per-view. Booker was hiding out in a grocery store for some reason when over the intercom he heard a familiar voice asking for a price check on a can of whoop-ass. Booker got alarmed and spotted someone with a bald head and decided to attack. But alas, it was not everyone's favorite bionic redneck. The distinctive sound of a beer opening alerted Booker to the fact that Austin was in fact behind him. And then it was on. Just non-stop one-liners from Austin, asking Booker if he had any Grey Poupon, singing some bars from That's Amore before hitting Booker with a big pizza pie, even getting in a Got Milk reference. Wow, I am realizing that all three of those things are extremely dated. But it doesn't matter because it was an awesome, entertaining brawl, and was all said and done, Booker T would later say that they did $15,000 worth of damage to the place, which maybe that's why they haven't revisited the supermarket brawl, with the prices of groceries being so expensive these days. To wrap it up, Booker took a little ride on the grocery conveyor belt, and Austin made his exit as police sirens could be heard in the background. So, getting back to the topic of the list, what did they cut out? Here's a little quiz for you. Was it A, Booker T attacking an innocent civilian, B, Steve Austin singing 13 words of the song That's Amore, or C, the sirens playing in the background that highlighted the fact that Steve Austin had just committed a felony? Well, just like a bunch of the items on this list, it must have been the music rights, because Austin serenading Booker has been cut from the WWE Network's version, which honestly is insane to me. I mean, you don't see the people from Grey Poupon suing, do ya? Well, there's our list. Did we forget any other moments banned from the WWE Network? If so, please leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and spray some milk on that notification bell. Until next time, I'm Singer Siete for 7 Wrestling saying bye-bye.